From deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast with Dustin Vaughn Warncke. Brought to you by Grim Reaper Broadheads. Watch 'em drop. Gold Tip, the toughest arrow you'll ever shoot. Gilly Monster Outdoors and Vapor Trail Outdoors. World-class hunting and fishing products. Striper Express with Bill and Chris Carey on Lake Texoma. Vineyard Max Deer Products and Warncke Enterprises, your full-stack digital and media production marketing agency with a specialty in the outdoors. Jackson Vaughn Warncke, welcome to the Best of the Outdoors podcast. I'm so excited to have you on as my esteemed guest, my son. Ladies and gentlemen, when we started this podcast in 2015, kind of semi-officially, then took a break, and then got back at it. About a 4-year, hiatus, maybe close to 5 years now. Jackson was a young boy back then, and he is 15 years old now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Vaughn Warncke. Yay! Welcome to the show. Say something.
Hi.
Hi?
I don't know what to say.
How much do you love the outdoors, Jackson?
I love the outdoors.
Tell us summaries of kind of what happened this weekend before I take you back to where you stay most of the time, and then down the street from where I live, here in beautiful Northwest Leander, Texas. The thing is, we went on a turkey hunting trip this weekend, and Jackson and I had never killed a turkey. Okay, I've been very close a number of times, but it just never happened. Never taken it really that seriously. But we decided to go with a friend of mine, Scott is his name, and we went in his truck, and we kind of planned a whole trip. We've been calling and talking about it all this past week. And just tell us some highlights.
Well, we didn't get any turkeys. We tried our hardest to try to get some turkeys. Scott killed a turkey with a 12 gauge, I believe. Yep,
12 gauge, Remington 1100. And he was up top on the mountain, okay, of this place, the Wonderful Life Ranch, owned by Maggie Wendell. I've sold hunts on this place before, and so tell us some more.
I got to learn how to turkey call for the first time. Got to learn how to use one of those. Mm-hmm.
He's been turkey calling every place he's gone ever since.
Yep.
And what did you learn this weekend about archery as far as crossbows go? What did you learn about shooting, because you got to shoot at something? And what did you learn about how turkey hunting works? Because this is really your first spring turkey hunt we've ever been on.
I learned you have to be very patient. You have to be very patient to wait for the turkey. You can never predict their movements. You never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, they're very unpredictable, and they're a very challenging, kind of quirky creature, which makes them incredibly fun to hunt, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the whole idea with what we do in hunting. And I didn't catch the turkey bug, because here's the thing. People that hunt turkeys for the first time a lot of times get addicted to it. They get an obsession of it, and possesses them. They have to kill all 4 turkeys in that county or whatever, or an eastern, or they have to do what's called the turkey slam. Do you know what the turkey slam is, Jackson?
No idea.
Okay, so the turkey slam, as I understand it, is a Gould's turkey, typically in America. They're in Arizona, a lot of them in Mexico, kind of northern Mexico, down to maybe Monterey. For those of you guys that are familiar with old Mexico terrain, you have the Merriam's turkey. They're typically kind of an eastern United States turkey. So the Gould's is pretty much, as far as the wild turkey goes, west, okay, as far as I understand it, at least. You have the eastern turkey, which is, would you guess where the eastern turkey is located?
Probably,
I don't mean within Texas.
Somewhere in the east, yeah.
Somewhere in the east. So they're more eastern. And then you have the Rio Grande. Okay, which turkey were we hunting for?
Wild.
Well, yes, of course. They're all wild. The ones I just mentioned are all wild. But what turkey were we hunting for specifically of those of the turkey slam?
Probably central.
The central, yeah. The Rio turkey. Okay, the Rio Grande turkey, or the Rio turkey. Rios, as we call them in turkey hunting. And we got to set up decoys. The ground was so hard that we had to these were like plastic stakes, so you couldn't you had to be careful you didn't break the the plastic pole that the turkeys were on. And they fell over, and then we set up one up for Scott to even put rocks around the, and the thing is, it still blew over. His blew over a couple of times. Oh, he's telling me it blew over like 3 or 4 times like ours did, so.
It was surrounded by 4 rocks.
4 rocks, I know. I shouldn't have. But the thing is, the ground was hard to stick a turkey decoy in. So the one trick that I want to teach our audience here is that find a clump of grass somewhere. If you're out like a very, a gravelly area that's very hard ground, find you some vegetation to stick that turkey decoy in and try to hunt in front of, kind of in front of it, out in an open area, because the idea is there's already dirt, and soil underneath there. When you stick it in there, it basically has a place to kind of ground. That's what I was trying to do. I even put ours in a cactus, like inside of it, like on top of kind of a beaten down cactus to kind of like simulate that it's still going to work and everything, but at least there's something to stick into, some roots or something to stick into, because, there's so many cactus.
Still blew over.
Yeah, still blew Exactly, Jackson. Still blew over. You're right. It still blew over. Okay. So, what did you learn about archery crossbows? Did you kind of catch a bug again towards like wanting to shoot more crossbows?
Yeah, I would say so.
Because you took a shot at a
squirrel.
A squirrel. Squirrel came in to eat. A little bit of stuff around there, and he was interested and kind of seeing what was going on with the turkey decoy. And Jackson took a shot. We hadn't shot his crossbow in a while. Now, I'll be honest, we could have prepared better for this by making sure both of our crossbows were sighted in, but it's not that big of a deal, okay? So the thing is, I just wanted to get him out in the woods. This is more of just an exercise of father and son time together in the woods, outdoor therapy, whatever you want to call it, all right? So when you shot at that squirrel, what happened?
Squirrel jumped over my arrow.
Yeah. Squirrel actually jumped his arrow. Either that or he shot a little bit low or over it. We're not sure.
I aimed my scope at the squirrel. I think my scope was too high.
That's fine. So we're going to just make a slight adjustment on the scope. But we learned, right? We learned. It was a hunting experience. We took a shot at something. We missed. That's going to happen in hunting. I wasn't a turkey. Could have shot the turkey decoy. I tried to get you to do that at the end just for fun. But, there's some dads that do that with their sons. They're just shoot the decoy. We didn't get anything. You didn't get anything today. But what I'm trying to go here, trying to say here is, look, it was about the experience, because we got to hunt together again, didn't we?
Yep.
First time we got to hunt together in like 2 years was last fall at Miss Maggie's Ranch.
Yep.
We hunted together in the same pop-up blind that I brought out there, and it was just a great experience being out in the calmness and the peace of natural outdoors. Tell me some more about that. After you're done.
It's nature's just very peaceful all the time. There's nothing not to like out there. Just, I don't know.
What about it makes you feel like you love the outdoors? Like what where's your passion in the peace of the outdoors? How about that?
Seeing how nature works, seeing how animals live, how they live, how they get food, how they get water, all that.
Because we saw like a whole ecosystem from the ground to the air, the whole atmosphere around there worked together. And the one thing I wanted to tell Jackson, and one thing a lot of you guys know listening to this podcast, is the fact that, things don't exist out there. Like, there's no trash in the outdoors, you know what I'm saying? There may be some bones scattered from the predators, but everything has its, fill in the blank, its purpose, right? It's purpose. Everything has its purpose. And the beauty of the outdoors is it's an ecosystem that could coexist. And in some areas it does, especially in America, where it's just like untouched, kind of, I call it like virgin land, like virgin waters, for fishing. Places that things just kind of do their thing,
Yep.
And the one thing I'll bring up other places in this podcast with Larry Wassoon, the interview I did with him. What did we learn about conservation versus preservation that I taught you? Do you remember?
You didn't
exactly
teach me that.
I did teach you that. I was on the ride home. I was talking about one of Larry Wassoon's, Mr. Whitetail. I do his podcast. Shameless plug for the DSC's Campfires with Larry Wassoon podcast. Please check that out. Larry is, there's not anybody in hunting that really doesn't know who that guy is. One of the biggest celebrities, one of the most humble and great men that I've met. But he talked about conservation being the continuation of life. Preservation leads to death. Okay. So there's a lot of, let's call them animal rights groups or, groups that are basically trying to preserve, areas in nature and that kind of stuff. But the thing is, they're not trying to conserve. Okay, there's a big difference. When you're trying to just keep things the way that they are and not make them better, through things like hunting, right? then we get a conservation model in there when we put hunting in there. And I heard a lot at the podcast conference I was at that if it pays, it stays. That's the way that's used in Africa a lot. So for African game, the whole thing was, in order for that animal to have a continuation of its species, like a prolification, for that animal to stay there, somebody had to pay to come hunt something there, okay? And there's some truth to that model, and there's some, that just kind of by human nature that we see something as valuable, we want to keep it there and make sure it stays there longer. Exotics are a good example of that here in Texas. But this place that we went to was low fence. It was all native game, and we had some aoudad on that property as well, which they come into a special area, and they love the mountainous range of this area. But this was a mixed, diverse terrain territory. So we got to explore the mountains as well as the flat land. We got to explore the hills as well as the creek bottoms. It's a little bit of everything. It's a beautiful range. So there'll be deer hunts in the spring. I'm sorry, not spring, jeez. So deer hunts in the fall. And there'll be aoudad hunts year-round. There'll be hog hunts, unlimited hogs.
Yep.
And I want to take Jackson out on a night hunt. Jackson somehow thinks that we need night vision to do a hog hunt.
Like a night vision scope. Not a scope,
Why?
but a handheld.
Why? Why?
I just like it.
You just like them, okay.
Yeah.
But could we hunt with a flashlight and a regular scope?
Yeah.
What color does flashlight need to be?
Red or green.
Red or green. Now, what is green best for?
Hog eyes.
Hog eyes, yep. But also, red will work for hogs too, but there's one species of critter that green does not work as well as red does. Red works better for. Do you remember this? I talked to you this some years ago. Coyotes, okay? So, coyotes typically can pick up green light and see their shadow a little bit better. But see, the problem is the human eye doesn't see the focus, like the beam of red as much as they do green. Green's a brighter light overall for longer distance, but the thing is, for coyote hunting, red, it would be my preferred color on that. So this is just some general hunting tips that I've been giving my son that hopefully he retains. But that's the thing. And I taught him while we're going up and down this mountain, I was like, son, I'm trying to teach you the mistakes that I made when I had to figure all this out on my own before we had YouTube and TikTok and all the things that are in your world where you can learn about a lot of this stuff. Because Jackson's even showing me like places on a turkey where to shoot, like he's pulling up online, and we didn't have that back when I started hunting, back in my day, as you like to say. All right, so the thing is, I'm trying to make sure that he does not make some of the same mistakes that I made when I started out on my own as an adult, a young adult hunting, so he can make his own mistakes, and then teach his own kids how not to make his mistakes, and these are the mistakes that your grandpa taught me not to make. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So basically, got the bird tagged, everything like that. I cleaned the bird, and I forgot how much I did not like cleaning wild turkeys. They're gross, but at the same time, breasted it out, and we took the breast out. Of course, we also took the thighs and the drumsticks, and making taco meat. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a way to do that. I'm going to try to see on this recording if I can take Luke Clayton's kind of what to do with a wild turkey recipe. This is certainly not something that you want to take on Thanksgiving dinner for, okay? The reason is because turkeys are wild and have less what?
Meat.
Well, less fat and less hormones.
Yep.
So they're going to be really dry if you try to cook it like a traditional traditional turkey. And cook it in an oven, that's what I'm trying to say. So that all being said, what can you do with a turkey breast?
Can make chicken fried steak.
Yeah.
Turkey fried steak.
Chicken fried turkey. How about that?
Chicken fried
turkey. All right. See, one thing that Luke Clayton has taught me to do, and a lot of other turkey hunters have too. I produced Luke's Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and Friends, and you can find that on your local radio station if you live up as far as Arkansas or down to South Texas or many parts of Texas at least. But he covers a whole region with a terrestrial radio show, radio show you hear on the car radio or whatever kind of stereo you use. And then he also has that turns into a podcast, and I do the production for him. So Luke talks about cutting them up in little strips and chicken fry, just rolling in batter, and chicken fry. And I'm sending you home with a breast, and I'm sending you home with a set of the thighs and the thighs and the legs, and I've got that ready to go for you and your mom to kind of do what you do with it, okay? Yep. With each respective part of meat. But the thing is, I kind of come from the German culture of everything but the squeal. One thing you grew up, Jackson, knowing is Ponus. You remember Ponus?
I do love
Eating that?
Ponus.
Now, I have some here in the freezer that I'm going to make for you next time you're here. But here's the thing. Ponus is everything but the squeal. That's what basically it was around with German, the German settlers. The German, I think this may have come over. They call it scrapple in other parts of the world. But you could even make turkey scrapple. Okay, boil down the legs, or the parts that are kind of tough and stringy. You don't want to throw a full turkey leg and be like you're walking around the Renaissance Festival. It's pretty dry. It's like eating shoe leather. But you can boil it off the bone, cook it down, and then mix it up with some corn, kind of a cornmeal and flour mixture. Jackson would see me do this when he was growing up, and kind of keep stirring it and everything like that, and make kind of like a loaf. It's almost like I'd equate it to being something like a what's that one thing that a little loaf of like a Spam or something like that. You kind of just cut little pieces off it, you fry it. I grew up on that stuff. It was usually deer meat when I was growing up, or wild hog meat, or whatever we had back then. But the whole idea with the world scrapple is that you can, it's scraps. It's the stuff that so the joke with scrapple and Ponus was that it was everything but the squeal. They would use all the organs of the hogs and that kind of stuff traditionally in scrapple. But really, you can make turkey scrapple, which is boiling down the meat from those hindquarters, and you're in good shape. It's kind of cool.
Yep.
So tell me some other stuff you learned.
I don't know.
You don't know. Remember, I don't like that. I don't know for the response. All right. Did you learn anything about petting horses?
Yeah.
Maggie has some wild horses on this land. They're semi-wild horses. They'll come up to you, but they kind of just run wild throughout the ranch. They have a stable area, kind of like a fenced area, that they stay in during sometimes when we don't want them out. But she has like 20, what did she say, 27 horses?
27 horses.
And they're all kinds of different, kind of horses,
Yeah.
different colors and everything like that. Jackson said the one looked like his dog.
Yep.
Honey.
Mm-hmm.
He kept on saying that was a honey horse because it looked like his dog Honey. Anyway, with the it was white and it had kind of brown patches on it. It was very beautiful. So just to kind of be around a beautiful Central Texas ranch, low fence, untouched. And what else goes on that property besides hunting? There's a lake. There's fishing. What else goes on there?
Food.
Well, besides, okay. Yes. And we procure food and everything like that. She's got pigs.
She's got pigs.
She's got sheep.
She's got sheep.
I sold her some rams and ewes that she has running around on there right now that are Mouflon crosses, that are probably YO Mouflon crosses in the exotic world, if you know what I'm talking about. But beautiful rams, kind of hanging out there too. And then I can't believe I'm the one that made that possible for them to actually be there on her land. I met a guy that lives out there that actually learned about this ranch from me, and it was just kind of like cool. I think I sold him a hunt back in the fall during deer season, and he kind of took a liking to the owner out there, and just lives on the property now.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know who you're going to touch in the outdoors. You just got to get out there, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing I wanted to do with you this weekend was go catfishing. We'll do that next time. Mm-hmm. I know you think that's more of a boring way to fish, but the whole thing is the way that I'm going to catfish with this next time is with punch bait, okay? And that's where, if you remember when we went with Roy Simmons that time to Gone Fishing Guide Service, that was Richland Chambers Lake. Do you remember that trip? It was one of our first catfish trips, me, you, and your grandpa, okay? And we caught a bunch of catfish with that punch bait that you're going to shove the hook into. You don't remember that?
No.
You remembered everything when you were young. Yeah. And anyway. But basically, we're going to fish with punch bait, and we're going to fish with Captain Tony Pennebaker's punch bait. And I got a quart of it, or I'm not sure what size I got, but it's he's got shad and he's got blood. Those are his two different types of punch bait, okay? The blood is new. He just started making batches of that, but that you can find that at bestcatfishbait.com. That's again bestcatfishbait.com. This is a great time of year to catch catfish, either eater size or trophy blue cats, or trophy trophy flatheads, or whatever you're looking for, yellow cats. So, and Jackson and I have seen a lot of big catfish over the years, haven't we? Mainly Lake Conroe. Uh-huh. And what do we do with the big ones? We don't eat those. What do we do with them?
We release them.
We release them. Why do we release them, Jackson?
I can't remember.
You can't. They're the matriarchs. and the patriarchs, and it's been a while since we've been, but I haven't explained this to you for a while. They are the egg carriers, okay? They're the breeders and the egg carriers. Usually, a lot of the big ones that get that big are big mamas, okay? They're big mama cats. And unless you cut a gill or, something, they swallow the hook, whatever the case may be, especially in a jug line situation, they usually don't swallow the hook. But with our fishing ministry, we go out to Lake Conroe once a year, and we haven't done this in a few years, but it's a tradition. And I think I want to go next year and take you, now that I'm kind of settled in a new area here. But the whole idea is that we let the big ones go. And we've caught up to 62 pounds for one catfish out there, a big old blue cat. And unless they are absolutely losing blood or anything like that, like bleeding out of the gills or anything like that, we turn them back because they're the reason why we have all the catfish in the lake. There's plenty of eaters, as we call them, eater catfish, small up to maybe 3 pound. And really, I was talking to Tony Pennebaker this morning. He actually said, he cuts the line at about 15 pounds for a channel cat. And then, anything, it could be a 16 pounder. There's some exceptions, but the idea is if you're on a eater, catching for eater catfish, you don't want anything much bigger than probably 20 pounds because they don't taste that good.
Yeah.
You can cut catfish steaks, but really catfish nuggets and that kind of stuff on the bigger ones cut out of the belly, and we make every use of every one we have to take because, there's 40 pounds or whatever that does, bleed out or whatever the case may be, and it isn't going to live. We're pretty sure they're not going to live. So, anyway, what else would you like to say? The mic's yours, mister.
I don't know. I just really recommend, if you haven't gone outside in a while, I'd recommend just go and explore nature. You're never gonna find something the same. You're always gonna find something doing something different all the time.
It's a different day every time. It's kind of like what is said, you can never swim in the same river twice because it's never the same river.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The river's always changing. So the way that nature works, just to be immersed in it and just to be silent. I even left my phone down and everything like that for a lot of this. Just call some turkeys and listen and just hear. And I heard a gobble at least in the far distance. He didn't hear that, but
I think I did.
I'm also teaching Jackson how to watch for movement in the outdoors, because I said, look, there's a squirrel over there by the decoy, come try to shoot with your crossbow. I think you were out, using the bathroom, and I was doing the same thing, and I was kind of trying to see what was going on and set up our decoy again, and I saw the squirrel before you did, and you didn't believe me at first, did you?
I didn't say that.
You didn't see the squirrel as we came back up.
I thought the squirrel ran off.
That's right, and he was still there. So we got in there. I actually let Jackson get in there all by himself this time, and he knows safety about crossbows and everything like that. Barnett Raptor reverse limb. I think it's one of the few reverse limb crossbows that Barnett may have ever made. Just that one. It may have just been that one, but you've always loved that crossbow, haven't you? Barnett crossbows are great. In fact, I think I'm going to sell one of mine to Scott. He's holding on to it, and I'll probably get another one. That's always been my brand. Now, Excalibur, for like just regular, I guess traditional limb, like the regular straight limb crossbows, not the ones with the compound crossbows. Like Barnett mainly makes the compound ones that have the pulleys and the wheels and everything, but Barnett makes kind of the traditional recurve style. No, I'm sorry, Excalibur makes the traditional recoil style, and anyway. But the bottom line is that they're all good as long as it's some kind of brand that's sold here in America and it isn't some crazy Chinese brand or something like that. You're going to end up with a good quality crossbow. The thing is about the outdoor industry and the products we buy, fishing, hunting, camping, whatever. The bad stuff's been weeded out unless you order it off of like Wish or AliExpress or what's the one I always say wrong? Temu. Did I say it right this time?
I think. You always say it wrong.
Temu. That's what you always say. Temu. Don't buy your hunting and fishing equipment off of there unless it's something that's like you're not worried about. You know what I'm saying? If it's like a crossbow or a big purchase like that, buy it from an Academy or a Bass Pro or something like that. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. Barnett's always been the kind of like budget crossbow, which has always been my kind of thing. I'm always about getting my value for my money. I'm not going to pay for a name brand. I've never been that kind of guy. And you know that about your dad. But the thing is, Barnett's always been the best bang for my buck. But if you want to spend a little bit more, get a little something different. They got that. They got this crossbow called the good.
Excuse me.
That burp. Well, it's a kind of a guy's podcast, so I guess it's okay. All right. So what was I saying?
Your favorite type of crossbow.
All right, favorite type of crossbow. Okay. So Barnett makes one. I think they call it the double shot or the double strike. It has a reticle that is just for that crossbow that has a bottom trigger and a top trigger.
Really?
So if you're hog hunting, okay, think about this.
No.
Or any...
I'll think about it.
Always have to be a character on this show. All right. I've never had you as a proper guest on this, so you're getting ready. This podcast at least is getting ready to understand Jackson a little bit better. All right. So imagine you're hog hunting, okay, and you've got a chance to get 2 shots off. Boom, boom.
So you have
2 triggers.
You have 1 arrow on the top and 1 arrow on the bottom.
Yes, you do.
And you pull them back at the same time with the same pull.
Yep. And I think it's the same pull gets them both pulled back. 2 strings, okay, on top of each other. All right, just imagine this. And so then you put 2 arrows, one on top of the other, on each rail. Okay, I don't think anybody's done anything like this before. And then you have a top trigger and a bottom trigger. Isn't that cool?
Did you find my pullbacky thing, by the way?
Yeah, it's in your backpack.
Which one?
I'm always keeping up your brown one. Okay. I'm always keeping up with your stuff. You know that, man.
That's Dad's job.
All right, last thing. What do you think about your dad?
He's the best dad ever.
I'm humbled by that statement, ladies and gentlemen.
I love him.
I love every chance I get to spend with my son in the outdoors. Recently went through a divorce. A lot of you guys understand that. We haven't hunted together in a while. Haven't had a place in a lot of regards. But now that I'm selling hunts again, if you're interested, you can reach out to me 512-497
7674.
He has this memorized at least.
I try.
So basically you've got a way to contact me. Text message is better because I get a lot of phone calls and I never know who everybody is. So you can also reach me at dustinsprojects.com, at Dustin's Projects on Instagram, Threads, and at Business with Dustin for my professional side of what I do in the outdoor industry, podcast production, websites, all that stuff. Yeah, and Jackson, what's your social media? Anybody want to follow you? Jackson's got a gaming profile and all this cool stuff.
You can find me on TikTok at JVW2009.
You got to say at JV. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you said at, but you didn't say like the at symbol at.
At symbol JVW2009.
All right, very good.
And that's also my gaming profile. It's my profile for pretty much everything.
What, Discord, Twitch, whatever?
All that stuff.
Are you on all that?
Yep.
How does that not surprise me? I guess I need to follow you if I ask you to follow me. I follow you on those, but I don't go watch what you're doing when it shows you go live sometimes. So,
I can't.
And here I'm asking you to follow my stuff, and I'm not really paying attention to your. Well, I know.
There you go.
It's always followed my stuff for a long time, guys. All right, thank you so much for joining us for this show. Have the best day ever on the wherever you go, outdoors, indoors. I mean, you can go to indoor shooting range. You can go to an indoor archery range.
All that.
But do something to get especially get your kids. He's 15 years old and he still likes to hunt and fish. He hasn't completely broken down on me and said, "Dad, I just don't want to do this anymore." He has reignited his passion for the outdoors, I would say. Would you say that? Would you agree?
I would say that. I would definitely say that.
He's just a 15-year-old boy that just doesn't want to say much, He's like, yeah, man, I kind of say that anyway. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, reading, and listening. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.
I want to shed some light here in just a little bit on some recipe, a couple of ways to cook wild turkey that I've learned through the years. But first, I want to thank some people. I want to thank Jeff Rice, my good buddy, that actually puts Catfish Radio on the website, catfishradio.org. That's where all of our fine radio stations get it, and you can actually listen to that after it airs. You can go to catfishradio.org, and all 4 segments are there after you hear it, later on, after it's on the radio. Also, it may trick some people up, but this show, the 4 segments, becomes an hour-long podcast on iHeart, Apple, Spotify, all those places that people get podcasts. Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and friends. So sometimes you may be listening to the show from Bangor, Maine or somewhere. Where is Lake Tawakoni or something? But as a podcast, it's popular also. So I want to tell everybody about that. Mr. Dustin Warncke is our producer. He does a great job putting all this together, balancing everything out. And so thanks to him, thanks to everybody, and especially these radio stations too. These stations there's a ton of outdoor shows, but they chose to run our show, And I promise to keep the show varied, hunting and fishing and camping, anything that to do with outdoors, the cooking part. I know a lot of people enjoy that. So, speaking of cooking, I want to share a couple of wild turkey recipes with you. Now, comparing wild turkey to a butterball you buy at the Walmart discount thing or whatever, no comparison. It's going to be tough. A wild turkey is tough by nature. Why wouldn't it be? It's got to use those legs to get him around, chase grasshoppers, and run away from coyotes and everything else. So just like a wild hog, people ask, are wild hogs good eating? They can be. I'm pretty choosy when I shoot a wild hog, but yeah, they're not as lean. I mean, they are not as fat. They are way more lean than domestic hogs. So wild turkey's the same way. Now, years ago, I used to see a lot more people use only the white meat, the breast meat of a wild turkey. They didn't know what to do with the drumsticks and the thighs. I'm going to give you a recipe for those that you'll never, ever again have to wonder how to put them to use. I'm going to tell you how I make fajitas out of them. I do this every spring. I usually share this recipe, but a lot of people have started using it. The white meat, I'll usually just breast out the two breast halves. When I'm butchering a turkey, I've got two breast halves, two drumsticks, and two thighs, and I'll I'll separate the thigh from the drumstick. Now, for the breast meat, I like to chicken fry those. Now, the meat is dry. Wild turkey meat has not been pumped full of fat, of butter, and all that, like a domestic bird has. So you're going to have to cook it with moisture, or add moisture, I should, especially with the breast meat. So what I do is Louisiana hot sauce. Put you a little Louisiana hot sauce in a baggie. Cut those fillets. Actually, when you take the breast half, I cut them across the grain there, and make them a little less than a half-inch thick. And make a nice little chicken fried. We could call it wild turkey planks, whatever you want to call it. But they are really, really good. Dust them with really a little black pepper and salt is all you really need, but you can put any dry seasoning you want on them. I usually don't dip them in milk and egg. I never put them in a batter with egg, but that Louisiana hot sauce will give them enough moisture where the flour will adhere. And then just roll them in flour and fry them till they're golden, and you will have some of the best wild turkey planks you've ever eaten. That's a good way to do it. Another way is turkey wraps. You can use jalapeno, a little cream cheese, a little cheddar cheese if you like that. Put some onion on there, just a regular bacon wrap, and grill them. They are awesome like that. So, and sometimes I'll even have stuffed wild turkey breast, and that's really good. Just kind of butterfly that turkey breast half, open it up, if you will, and load it up with cream cheese and bacon bits, whatever you want, jalapeno for sure, little garlic powder, season it up well, wrap it with a fatty bacon, and you can cook it in a cast iron. I cook it in a cast iron skillet a lot with a lid on it, or you can grill it either way. So it's good any way you want to cook it. Now, to the more challenging part, to the drumsticks and the thigh meat. Well, the drumstick, if I kid a lot of people, if you were to take a wild turkey drumstick and just put it on a grill and grill it, a adult grizzly bear would be challenged to eat the thing. It's going to be super tough. So how do we make it tender? Slow cooking with moisture. Bingo. It's simple. I use a Smoking Tex electric smoker for a lot of my outdoor cooking, for barbecue and smoking stuff. I've used them for years. You can go to smokingtex.com. There is no better electric smoker. And the flavor, people bicker about, well, it's not a real wood smoker. I challenge anybody to tell the difference, because I saw little limbs off of our hickory trees here where I live, pecan wood, put it in that smoke box. The flavor is exactly like if I stayed up all night poking wood in my wood-fired smoker. So you need to put some wood smoke on it. So what I'll do, I'll take usually an aluminum pan, just a little cheap throwaway aluminum pan. I'll put the thigh meat and the drumsticks in there. Now I'll dust them liberally. This is important, with Fiesta brand seasoning, fajita seasoning. It's not too salty, and it's just the best in my opinion. So, but you'll need to have some way for that to adhere to your drumsticks. So coat them with olive oil is what I usually use. You could use just regular cooking oil. That way your dry seasoning will stay on the meat. And simply put it in your smoker, whatever smoker you're going to use. And with mine, my smoking Texas, I set it at 225, and I'll let that smoke uncovered for a couple of hours. Then I'll wrap it up, and I usually add just a little bit more olive oil, wrap it up with foil real tight, and then cut my thermostat down to about 200, or leave it at 225 if it's during the day. Sometimes I'll let this cook all night at 190 or 200, but it'll take, at 225, it'll take about probably 4 hours. It'll steam that meat, and what you'll have when you get through, you'll have the drumsticks. Just take your fingers and pull that meat off the bone. The feather bones will stay right there with the leg bone. And then you've got some well-seasoned fajita meat. And, of course, the thigh, you can just actually let it cool a little bit and just cut that off the bone or pull it off with your fingers. It'll be that tender. I just put that in a skillet, kind of chop it up where it's like fajita meat. Put that in a skillet with some fresh garlic, jalapenos, and onion, and you've got some of the very best fajitas you've ever eaten. I promise you that.